I'm Amy Cherry. This local news is a service of Flagler County's Toyota dealer, Beaver Toyota, here to wow ya. A Palm Coast man is arrested on charges of shoplifting and impersonating a federal officer, Tony Magoo reports.
The Flagler County Sheriff's Office recently responded to a shoplifting incident at the Publix on Belterre. With us is Flagler County Sheriff Rick Staley.
Our deputies did an outstanding job arresting a shoplifter who then tried to identify himself as a U.S. Marshal.
The suspect was identified as 60-year-old Leroy Stottlemyre, who had concealed several items in his reusable shopping bag. Once deputies made him aware that the entire incident was captured on surveillance cameras, he admitted to attempting to steal the food as well as identifying himself as a marshal. Sheriff, he's tried this before, though, hasn't he?
He had previously been stopped for a traffic violation where he identified himself as an air marshal. So 2 times you're out, and he went to jail.
He was booked into the Sheriff Perry Hall inmate detention facility and released after posting bond. For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Tony Magoo.
Flagler's Vote by Mail initiative is going strong as we head towards the March 17th primary. John Arking has the details.
Early voting started this past Saturday, March 7th, and will run through Saturday, March 14th, with 3 municipalities having scheduled elections being held concurrently with the countywide presidential preference primary. They include Bunnell, with 2 city commissioner seats up for a vote, and Flagler Beach, which also has 2 city commission seats on the ballot, along with 3 charter amendments. Katie Lenhart is the Flagler County Supervisor of Elections.
We've had a great turnout so far with our vote-by-mail ballots, thanks to the voters listening. If you've received your ballot, send it back into us. We've received that. We've started counting those already as of last week. So returned so far, we have 6,629 vote-by-mail ballots returned out of about 13,000 that we sent out. So that's a pretty good return so far. It's a bit early yet, and we expect to have about a 75% return on those vote-by-mail.
Lenhart's entire interview can be heard on the Free for All Friday podcast, available on the Flagler radio app. From the WNZF Newsroom, I'm John Arkin.
3 people were arrested and 3 vehicles that were stolen recovered in separate incidents. Flagler County deputies say dedicated policing and technology led them to a stolen vehicle at the racetrack gas station on the 5800 block of State Road 100 East Friday. Police say their wanted fugitive Teresa Clausen claims she illegally bought the vehicle in Jacksonville, but had no identifying documents to prove it or even a valid driver's license. Police say a search of her persons turned up fentanyl and marijuana as well as counterfeit cash. She was arrested on drug counts as well as grand theft and driving violations. A child in Clausen's car was turned over to the State Department of Children and Families. Sunday, deputies say they spotted a stolen vehicle at the Mobile gas station on the 6000 block of State Road 100. They say Jacob Ragsdale was driving with a license that had been suspended a decade ago. He also faces grand theft charges and was already wanted on a fugitive warrant out of South Carolina. Later that same night, deputies nabbed Charles Brockhouse on charges of driving a stolen vehicle. He was spotted at Victoria Plaza on the 4800 block of Belterre Parkway. Police say Brockhouse tried to show deputies a vehicle lease on his phone, but instead they found texts about drug sales. Though they didn't find any drugs on his persons, deputies say they found counterfeit cash and say Brockhouse was driving on a suspended license. Brockhouse is in violation of probation for grand theft. He's behind bars on no bond.
The Old Florida Museum at the Florida Agricultural Museum is on a mission.
So, it has a mission statement.
The mission statement is to teach about Florida's agriculture, past, present, and future.
The museum's executive director, Kara Hoblick, says they do that teaching. They need space, but much of their space is outside right now.
We are constructing the first phase, which is 3 buildings and 5 programs. As soon as we are finished with the construction, the tours can take place actually in the buildings. We're doing the tours outside of the buildings right now.
Hoblick said the funds for which she's asking are for Phase 2.
The building, which would house the gift shop, administrative offices, public restrooms, parking lot, proper pathways, and also a lunch pavilion.
She said that if the museum doesn't get the funds, progress would not stop but be slowed. Tomorrow, Kara Hoblick talks about the museum's rideable model train and the land bridge. From the WNZF Newsroom, I'm Deb Albertson.
And now you're up to date on Flagler's Morning News. I'm Amy Cherry.